want to make it clear that it was my decision and my decision alone. This was a constituent who wanted to see wanted to be here, and I recognized him. It was my decision, and I apologize profusely. I cannot tell you how regretful it is. And it may not be good enough for some of you, and for that I apologize. And I'll let the Honourable Opposition House Leader take it from here, and then we'll go to the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to underscore the point that my colleague just raised. This is a question about, is it the government's position that when we have a foreign head of state, that the government does zero security vetting for who will be in the same room as that head of state? Is that the message that we're sending to our allies, that when they come here, you don't know who's going to be in the gallery? I mean, what kind of message does that send to Canada's partners and allies around the world? And that's the point that we're raising, Mr. Speaker. It's all well and good for you to come in and accept your share of the responsibility. But there's only one entity in this chamber that has the resources and the mandate to keep people safe. As my colleague just pointed out, when President Zelensky comes here on the invitation of the Prime Minister, when the entire itinerary is planned by the PMO, the Government of Canada has an obligation to him personally to secure his safety, has a responsibility to the people of Ukraine to ensure the safety of their president. And he has a responsibility to all Canadians to uphold the dignity of Canada as a country, as a trusted partner and ally. And in all three of those areas, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister failed. Yes. Failed to do that basic level of responsibility. That's the point that we're underscoring, Mr. Speaker. There was a Nazi in the chamber. There's only one entity, one group that could have done anything about it, that could have flagged that. And as I mentioned, the director of the Parliamentary Protective Service reports up to the Government of Canada for operational matters. That is in the mandate of the Protective Services. The director of the Parliamentary Protective Service must be a member of the RCMP. That's in the enabling legislation. That was all done for a reason, Mr. Speaker. Yes. I was in the chair when that legislation was passed, and it was precisely because the House of Commons itself did not have the capability to do full security vettings and background checks on individuals. That was the reason why we did that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
To make available to the House of Commons the resources of federal institutions like the RCMP and like CSIS. That is why we do not accept the attempt to collectivize blame for this. Opposition parties do not have access to CSIS reports. We do not have access to the RCMP's vast capabilities to do background checks and vetting. And in this case, it would have taken a simple Google search to find a blog post written by that individual saying that he served in an SS division, in a Nazi division during World War II. And again, all those resources are available to the government. The mandate, the responsibility lies with the government, and the entire reporting structure of the Parliamentary Precinct Services here flows up to the government. That's why we still have many, many questions, and this issue does not end with your statement or your apology.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, I have immense respect for my colleague opposite. In fact, he was the Speaker. He occupied that chair. And so he would know that as the Speaker, you do have prerogative to invite guests into the chamber. I will reiterate, neither the government nor the Ukrainian delegation had any prior knowledge. In fact, if colleagues will recall when the recognition was done, it was done by the speaker, and we did it on the good offices of the
Point of order,
speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Ask the honourable member to respect. This is a very difficult time for everyone in this chamber. And I understand that emotions are running loud and running high, but I'm going to ask everyone to listen to each other. I don't think I've ever been through a tougher time in this chamber or in this House since I got here in 2004. So I would ask some respect for both sides so that if someone is speaking, please, please show some respect. The Honourable Government House Leader, please continue.
Wow.
You know what? It's not even worth responding to. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, I would just reiterate for colleagues that if they recall when this moment happened, it happened during the Speaker's remarks. We were all caught off guard by this. I'm not trying to collectivize responsibility. I'm trying to lay the facts on the table, which my Conservative colleagues are choosing to ignore.